Hello, amazing second grade families. My name is Mrs. Brinson, and I am beyond excited to start this 2021-2022 school year with you. As I was looking through my roster, I was thrilled to see so many familiar names of families who I've worked with in the past. If that is you, welcome back. I look forward to partnering with you again. Of course, I was also so excited to see new names of families who I haven't worked with, and also families who are brand new to Coastal Academy. If that is you, welcome. I'm excited to get to know you and your student and to help you through this journey of homeschooling. Now, I have to say, second grade is near and dear to my heart. It is 100% my favorite grade level, and I am very passionate about it. I hope that translates into my ability to partner with you as you teach your second grader the curriculum needed for them to be successful and to prepare them for third grade. Now, to give you an overview of what to expect this school year, we have my orientation. And as you can see right over here, there are 5 sections that we are going to be going through. So let's get started. Let's talk about my education. I received both my bachelor's degree and my master's from Biola University. I am an Eagle through and through, and I believe my time at Biola truly prepared me to be a teacher and also to reach my goal, which is to create lifelong learners in every student that I teach. Some fun facts about me. This is my 6th year teaching at Coastal. I can't believe it. Something else that's fun about me is while I was at Biola, I ran collegiate cross country and track. So I have to say, watching the Olympics has been extremely fun because I've been able to see Team USA as they run and compete. While I was running at Biola, that's where I met my husband, Shane, and we have been married for 5 years. It's pretty cool this school year because Shane is actually going to be working here at Coastal Academy as a selectives PE teacher. He will be serving as a PE teacher on Mondays and Fridays as he concurrently pursues his teaching credentials. We will be a family of teachers. A few last fun facts about me. I absolutely love yellow. I think that comes from my love of giraffes, my favorite animal on planet Earth, and a final love is Trader Joe's. You're probably going to run into me at Trader Joe's if you are someone who goes there frequently because I find myself there a lot. Finally, I just had to share a picture of Mr. Sage Wyland Brinson. This is my little peanut. He was born on December 3rd of last year. So coming up in a few months, he's going to be 1 year old, and I can't believe it. It was exciting to have Sage for many reasons. He's the joy of my life, but also I feel like I have a different perspective now as a parent, where I was able to really have the perspective of a teacher for 5 years here at Coastal, but now I get to draw in the perspective of a parent as I partner with parents, and I think that's going to be very valuable. Now, each year I really love to tell a quick story about my time in second grade. Right there, you have little Mrs. Brinson when she was in second grade, and when I was in second grade, I knew, well, after the fact, but I discovered that that was my all-time favorite grade because of the experience I had. My experience was incredible because of my teacher, Mrs. Arvidsson. She was the most incredible teacher that I ever met. She went above and beyond to make sure the needs of her students were met, not just academically, but socially, emotionally. She connected with her students in a way that made each and every one of them feel loved. And it was a year of school for me where it felt different than all the rest. And now that I'm a teacher at Coastal, I think I know why. It boils down to the fact that Mrs. Arvidsson was and is my mom. This was 1 year of school where, even though I was in the public school system, I had my mom as a teacher. And that's why I think this year stood out to me, was because that year in second grade, it was the closest I ever came to an environment like Coastal Academy. because I had my parent as my primary educator, just like right now you are the primary educator of your child. And I tell this story just to encourage you, because out of all the years that I attended school, second grade was the most impactful on my life. And I feel like that can show you what impact you're having on your student by making this choice, sometimes a tough choice, sometimes a sacrificial choice, to be your student's primary educator. I really, truly believe that it pays off in the long run. Love that story. Now we're gonna dive into more of the nitty gritty. We're going to our class info section. As many of you already know, we have A-Track and B-Track meeting on different days. A-Track meets with me on Tuesday and Thursday, whereas B-Track meets on Wednesday and Friday. We have 20 students per track. Here are a few important tidbits that I wanted to share with you. Let's start with birthdays. I absolutely love making your child feel special on their birthday. In the past, parents would bring in birthday treats to share with everyone. Now, I wrote right over here in the notes that is to be determined, simply because I'm waiting to hear if we're going to allow edible treats to be brought in, where we are health-wise. So I will give more information to you as it comes about, but let me tell you what we've done in the past. I've had many families bring in healthy treats to share with our 20 students. It could be little fruit cups or even carrots with dip that they've brought in for everyone, and that's just a fun way to celebrate and make their child feel like it's their special day. I've also had families who've brought in more of a token, maybe a little toy for every kid in the class, kind of like a party favor. Just know that this is completely optional. You don't have to bring anything at all, because I will go above and beyond to make your child feel special with a birthday certificate, a birthday sticker, and then the entire class celebrating them in song. Now, you should be getting this week an email from me. It'll have the date that we are going to be celebrating your child in the classroom, so mark your calendars. And hey, even students who have a birthday that's in the summer or outside of the school year, we're going to make them feel special too. I love to celebrate half birthdays, so everyone's going to get an email with a date. Go ahead and mark your calendars so that you know what day we're going to make your child feel special. Now, just like I talked about how birthday treats are to be determined, the same can be said about in-person volunteering. I'm waiting to hear to what extent, if at all, we can have parents volunteer in the classroom. I know, kind of a crazy year coming off of COVID and so forth, but bear with me. We're going to be patient together and get our answers. But in the meantime, I'm going to be having I will have take-home volunteer opportunities. There is a sign-up document on Schoology where you can sign up to do some volunteer work at home, be it cutting, gluing, little things that will help make our classroom run even smoother. Now, in the email that you got today, you also have my PDF for supplies that will give you an idea of what to purchase for your student. The list is pretty small, and I do that on purpose to make the year manageable and not overwhelming. Then you're also going to see that there is a link to donations. Donations are completely optional, but they're greatly appreciated. You're going to notice that our donations list is pretty long, and that's because I am the ultimate planner, and I have gone through the entire year, and I've tried to put together a list of everything we will need for all of our classroom activities for the school year. So that's why there are so many. I wrote a little note on that document that says I'll be updating it throughout the school year, but honestly, the majority of what we need is there, so I don't anticipate updating it too much. Finally, at the bottom of our important tidbits, I have some information about conferences. We're going to stay tuned again to see if our conferences are in person, digital, a combination of both. I am anticipating meeting with you in person, but like I said, we will be patient to find out for sure. Just know that conferences to me are a celebration of learning. I want to celebrate the 6 or 7 7 weeks of work that your student has put into a unit. I want to celebrate both what they've done at home and also what they've done in the classroom. And because of that, I have a little bit more information about conferences. I would love for your student to be brought to the conference, to be present, because they're actually going to have some data to present from my end, the workshop classroom, to show you, the homeschool educator, that we could celebrate. I also have a few more notes here. Go ahead and bring all of your work from the unit every time that we meet. And prior to our meeting, make sure you've completed your digital reading log. That's important. Now, samples are not something that you will physically hand to me as you might have done in previous years. Those are all digital now, which is pretty nice. I know it's a big change, but once we get used to it, at least I've found that it's a real time saver. The biggest thing about digital samples is you want to make sure that they are labeled correctly. And as you listen, you can take a look at the label that I have as an example. Also, I try my very best to make your lives as easy as possible. So in each unit's folder on Schoology, you will also find that I have pre-labeled samples for you. And those are optional if you'd like to use them. They will already have the date, the subject, and the assessment marking for your student. All you will have to add is your student's first and last name, the one you have on their birth certificate, and then of course the student will need to complete the sample. One little note of a mistake that I see all the time is if you choose a map or a coloring page from the history curriculum, make sure that your student has a sentence at the bottom. We want to make sure that we don't just have a coloring page, that we have a sample with the student's authentic writing on it. So just wanted to mention that. All right, here are some key times. It's our daily schedule. Now, I don't expect you to look at this schedule in depth right now on our orientation. I just wanted to show you that here in our classroom, we have a set schedule, and I feel like that is really valuable for second graders in particular. They thrive on consistency and they thrive when they have a schedule. And so if you are trying to decide how to set up and run your homeschool class, I would say maybe create something similar to this, a daily schedule that your student can know is going to be followed each day. Now, my schedule goes from 8 a.m. to 2:15, and your schedule will probably be a little bit shorter than that because you won't have electives. You also won't have centers like we do in a classroom setting, but I did want to show you what ours looks like. A few things to note on our schedule. We do have electives. We have music, art, and technology that we rotate throughout the school year. The students will go to one of those twice a week, which is pretty amazing. You'll also notice that 8 o'clock is when we start our school day. And by 8 o'clock, I really mean 8 o'clock. We get started right away because I have so much that I want to do with your students to enrich their education and enrich their lives. So please be sure to get your student here on time. Just know my classroom doors, they open at 7:45. So if you want to get your kid here at 7:45, that's even better. Now let's talk about the end of the school day. As you can see from our schedule, our day in second grade ends at 2:15, and I would recommend getting in the pickup line a little bit early so that you do not get stuck behind the older grades. The older grades, 4th grade and up, they have a later pickup time than 2:15, and so you want to make sure that you are in line with the other primary kiddos. So we're talking about grades K through 3. So make sure you get there on time to pick up your kiddo. Now, if you're someone who is picking up your second grader with older students, 4th and up, I will drop them off at the picnic tables, as most of you already know, and they will wait for their older sibling to come and grab them, and they will head out to the later pickup. All right, let's move into our subjects. Here at Coastal, we have 6 units. You have 3 days at home home where you are homeschooling, and we have 2 days where your student is with me here in the workshop classroom. Let's take a look at Logic of English. This is a curriculum that we use where it is taught solely at home in the homeschool environment. If you have a returning student, they are going to begin with Book D. If you are someone who has never used Logic of English, or your student is brand new to Coastal, for example, then they are going to use a new to LOE pacing guide that we will have in Schoology. This would be something that I will be talking more about in our new to Coastal Zoom session that we will be having later on. I would recommend coming if that is something you would like to hear more about. Now in second grade, when it comes to Logic of English, which we also refer to as LOE, our goal is to finish Book D. As you are teaching this curriculum, you are going to see 1s, 2s, and 3s. These are what your students are striving to master, but I want you to focus on helping your student master the 1s, so keep that in mind. If your student has mastered the 1s, then they are ready to move on to the next concept that's going to be taught. I have also created spiral reviews for your student. These spiral reviews will review what students have already learned in books A through C, and it will also start introducing what you are covering in Book D. This is a great way to make sure that students don't lose the skills that they've already learned. Now, talking about writing, this is primarily taught in the workshop classroom with me, but there is crossover into your language arts curriculum that you will be teaching in homeschool. We will be focusing on 3 types of writing: personal narrative, opinion writing, and also informative. Now, if you would like to know more about the scope and sequence, meaning how the writing is laid out for the entire school year, that can be found in the unit overviews. Our first unit overview for Unit 1 can be found on Schoology within the Unit 1 folder. Now, history is a subject that is solely taught on your homeschool end of things. You're going to notice that this curriculum looks different than, let's say, your language arts curriculum or your LOE curriculum. And that is because it is actually written by our TCA writers. Now, a lot of families, because this history curriculum is on a spiral, meaning that the subjects and content that you see will actually span all grade levels, many families choose to teach history to all of their homeschool children at once. Just know that multi-grade teaching is commonly used, and that's an option for you. Now, like I said, this is a spiraling curriculum, meaning that students will see the same topics every 3 years. This year, for the 21-22 topics, they are going to be seeing world history and U.S. history. Now, I have listed which parts of story in the world our world history will encompass. When it comes to U.S. history, your student will be learning about the Revolutionary War, Constitution and Founding Fathers, New Nation, early presidents and politics, and the War of 1812. Science, on the other hand, is a subject that is covered with me in the workshop classroom. We love to use mystery science. It is one of my favorite resources, and we also supplement with other lessons to make sure that we are hitting all of the next generation science standards and GSS, and you can find out what standards we are specifically covering per unit in the unit overviews. Now, math is going to look a little bit similar to history in that math has been written this year by our TCA curriculum writers. And that is because we have a brand new curriculum. I'll start there. Our new curriculum is called Into Math. And if you have a student who was in first grade with Mrs. Johnson or Mrs. Woolsey, then they have actually been taught Into Math. You are familiar with this program, but to many families, this is going to be something new. It's going to be the first time even myself has taught it because it is our brand new curriculum. I am a fan of this curriculum. It reminds me of Logic of English in that you as the homeschool educator truly have to be teaching your children the content, and because of that, they gain so much more. It's not the type of book where you can hand it to them and say, go ahead and do pages 32 and 33. A lot of the curriculum will actually have you walk alongside your students, and you're going to find that there is more retention and even just more engagement because of that. We are going to be sharing assessments, meaning that some of your students' math tests will be given at home and some will be given in the classroom. I am going to be giving you more information of how we will share that test data as we get closer to our first math test of the school year. Something new that I think is pretty exciting, which I mentioned at the bottom of the slide, is that I am going to be giving kids test correction charms. In the past, I would always have students correct any problems that they got wrong on their tests. Now this year, I'm going to be actually incentivizing that. If your student corrects the test, be it one that they do at home or one that they do with me, they will receive a charm to add to their charm necklaces. I'm going to talk more about those necklaces when we get to Accelerated Reader. But this is something that I think will really motivate your students. And of course, if your student gets 100% on a test, they get a charm as well because they don't have to do test corrections. At the top of this slide, I mentioned that we are continuing reflex math. I want to point out that your student should be doing 15 minutes of reflex math or any type of math fact practice. When it comes to reflex, they will only get the green light if they complete 15 minutes. But I like to tell parents, if your student maybe feels a little bit of pressure or stress because of reflex math being on a digital platform with quick-paced games, they can always do an alternative, such as flashcards or anything of the like. In the classroom, your student will be practicing math facts by completing a math racer. This is a personal set of math facts that your student will do, and yes, there will be a time limit, but your student isn't competing against other kids in the classroom per se, they're competing against themselves. So if a student is able to do 10 problems in 2 minutes, next class we're going to try to beat 10. And in that way, I feel like students are more motivated and actually feel less pressure when it comes to timed math facts because they're solely trying to beat their personal best. Kind of reminds me of the Olympics once again. If you have more questions about math racers, feel free to reach out to me and I can explain that a little bit more. Now, ELA, that is our language arts curriculum. And for this slide, I'm specifically talking about ELA in the workshop classroom. Now, I have gone through Logic of English's, that was a lot to say, standards, and I have looked to see which standards aren't hit enough or which standards aren't hit at all. And I have developed my own classroom lessons based on those standards that students still need to master. To do so, I create my own lessons and I also work in restorative practices, which is a way that we can hit some of our speaking and listening standards while simultaneously building our classroom community. Now, like I mentioned, Accelerated Reader is another way that students are going to be earning charms in the classroom. This is a program that we use to encourage reading, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom at home. When students reach a certain amount of points, they actually get to go into my drawer and pick out whatever color AR charm that they desire. It's a little book. Your students are going to have necklaces where they keep these math and AR charms, and students wear them proudly in the classroom. They love to collect as many charms as they can. You are going to see some instructions about Accelerated Reader connected to the email that you received, so be sure to check those out so that your students can get a head start on earning points to earn charms in the classroom. All right, we only have a couple more sections. Thanks for hanging in there. Let's talk about Schoology. This is the platform in which we house our digital curriculum, lesson plans, calendars, updates from me, and so much more. You're also going to find that aside from our Schoology course, I've also created a parent group, and that is a great way for you to communicate with other parents. You can talk about events in the park, events in the community, even birthday parties where you would like to invite other students. That's a great way just to build our second grade community. Now, when it comes to communication, I use Schoology Weekly to communicate with all of my second grade families. And then if I need to reach out to you for something individually, I will use email to do that. So make sure that you are checking both Schoology and your email. Now within Schoology, you are also going to find your assignment calendars. They look just like this. Assignment calendars are your bread and butter when it comes to homeschool. I like to think of it as a checklist. Each day, you're going to see exactly what needs to be completed and taught on the homeschool side of things. You're going to notice that on days when your student is in the workshop classroom, the only thing that I leave in the assignment calendar is our math curriculum. So if your student is ever doing something fun, like going to Disneyland for their birthday on a day when they would be in the workshop classroom, then go ahead and still complete the math that was taught that day. When it comes to the other subjects, I will catch your student up once they come back to class. But with math, I would love for you to make sure that your student stays up to date on where they need to be in the math curriculum. Now, coming up in just a few days, we are going to be having book pickup, which you should have signed up for using the link that was included in the email you received. A few things about book pickup. I would love for you already to have completed your digital Getting to Know Your Student survey. I used to do these with hard copies in the past, but I'm up in my game this year, and I have digital versions that I hope makes your life a little bit easier. I wrote in the comments here, number 2, book transportation. Holy cow, you have a lot of books that are checked out to you. So make sure that you bring either enough bags, a wagon, even a rolling suitcase to take all those books home with you. You're also going to be receiving not just books that are checked out to you, but also consumable resources. As you've been hearing in this orientation, I really try to make your lives just a little bit easier. So I have created for you Mrs. Brinson's Homeschool Resources, and this is going to be really helpful for you and hopefully save you a lot of time in printing. I have a few fun things, an all about me bag that your student will complete at home and then bring on their first workshop day. I have a little word problem checklist that I designed and created for all of you. I'm hoping that it makes teaching word problems just a little bit easier. And then you're going to find that the rest of your resource folder contains pre-printed resources. I have printed all of your spiral reviews for you. You're welcome. I also have your language arts resources per unit. So you're going to see that there is a little P symbol. This symbol is going to be in Schoology within the curriculum every time there is a physical resource that you need to use. You are going to use the resources found within each of these unit packets. There is a packet for each unit when it comes to the language arts curriculum. Here's unit 1, and here's an example of unit 2, and so forth. Your student will complete these unit packets each unit, and we will go over them when it comes to conference time. I just want to wrap up this presentation by saying that if you have any further questions, Mrs. Moore and myself will together be having a Q&A session via Zoom on August 11th at 1 p.m. For new families, there will also be a new family orientation hosted by myself and Mrs. Moore on August 17th at 9:30 a.m. Both links can be found inside of the email that you received. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I look forward to meeting you.